So as nomads, we get to live a life of adventure and exploration, and it can be a lot of fun for us, but we also experience a set of profound difficulties in our lives. The first of which is that we don't really have a stable home base in our lives. And I think this is a fundamental problem for us because all nomads in the animal kingdom do have their sets of home bases. Think of our large mammal friends, the elephants, who always go back and forth to the same places and pass that information on from generation to generation. Think of our feathered and avian friends, our migratory birds who nest in the same exact places where they were birthed and move north to south as the weather and climate changes. Think of the reptiles like sea turtles who know exactly somehow what beach they were born on and can find their way back to it and know which moon it is and know which tide to go into the beach to go set their eggs and all of those kinds of things. Even down to the arthropods like crabs who have their migratory seasons as well, they have their specific locations. So maybe as humans we should have that too, because if you think about things back to the early humans, how did we probably survive? We likely moved around in small family groups, searching for fruit, searching for nuts, hunting when we could, and things like this. We were probably largely nomadic. That's why we ended up spreading across the entire planet. I believe we all have a deep instinct to be nomadic, but it can be problematic, especially if you don't have like a really close familial relationship with the people that you are nomadic with. And when you first start traveling, this doesn't really feel like a problem because everything's new, it's always new experiences, you're always meeting new people, but after a while you start to notice that you really do want kind of a home base, a sense of security, even though you are also a nomad at heart. And this really became evident to me at the start of 2020 when the pandemic started. I was down in Colombia with my daughter. My dad had just come down to visit for a few days, and all of a sudden we got hit with a really hard quarantine down there, really strict, and they canceled all the flights out, including my father's flight, who was only planning on staying for like a week or two, and we didn't know what we were going to do. We didn't know what was going to happen, if we could even get out of the country in the future at that time. And it really showed me the importance of having a base where you can stay safe, where you can have your own food, your own water, and your own shelter that you can retreat to in times of need. The second problem that we really face, and I kind of touched on this a little bit already, is that we really have a lack of continuity in relationships with the people that we meet on the road. Lots of times people are just traveling for short amount of time, so they head back home, or even the people that you meet who are traveling and staying in the same place as you for a long time, maybe they end up having to leave as well, or you end up having to leave, and then you just never really see each other again because you end up on different sides of the world. This can be really difficult as well. And lastly, for those of us who have children, we know how difficult it is to find reliable child care from place to place. So a couple weeks ago, I actually made a video about this idea and what we could kind of do to solve this, what we could do to work together as a community and try to figure things out over the long run, because this is something that, I think needs to be solved for a lot of us as we go forward. Imagine if my daughter, who's 9 years old now, continues this nomadic lifestyle. I would still like her to be able to carry on through this legacy as well and have something that's sustainable for her. So if you really like the idea of raising people right, why not help that little thumbs up button down there raise itself from a little white thumbs up button to a big blue thumbs up button? It will really help spread the reach of this video to find other people. I really appreciate it. And regarding that video that I already made, I got a great comment on it from a longtime viewer named Shatelko, and I would love to respond in video format right now. So Shatelko has pointed out that they've been doing this nomadic lifestyle for about 8 to 9 years, excluding the pandemic 2 years, but they've been living through like Morocco and Malaysia and the US. And what they were saying is that at the end of the day, this lifestyle really isn't that feasible for many reasons. And one of the main ones they pointed out was that because they actually have like family members back home that they're really close with, and it gets really difficult, especially when they are aging or they need help of some kind. And it's such a good point because as nomads, we often do have to make like emergency flights home for things like that. And that can be really difficult, not just in terms of finances, but also in terms of the disruptions to your lifestyle. Say like I had to pull my daughter out of school for a week when my grandpa passed away and I had to fly home, and just things like that can happen. So it can really disrupt your life, especially when you have family that you're really connected to. I totally understand that. And I like the idea of doing this kind of like summer camp lifestyle that we've been talking about in the previous video, because I think it could help out kind of giving you a sense of community to come back to if something something like that were to ever happen where you needed to go home, at least you know you could always come back to your little home base as a nomad as well. Shitelko also pointed out that a global moving summer camp lifestyle would be like herding cats, and that they couldn't imagine involving a bunch of other folks agreeing to a particular destination in a particular window of time, because it's hard enough even trying to get your family to agree to those kinds of things, let alone getting your best friends to agree to one kind of situation. Imagine having a bunch of strangers to do it with as well. You know, hopefully these strangers would grow into family, you know, nomad family. But, you know, I do understand the concern with trying to coordinate everything all at once. Now, obviously, it's a logistical nightmare, so I think I'd like to be open to the concept of, you know, people being allowed to make their own choices, like Shitelko pointed out, but at the same time, I think it would be kind of difficult to have like this rotating roster inside of the summer camp lifestyle, because then what happens is, you know, what if you have like a segment of time that someone's supposed to be there, but they're only there 50% of the time because they're doing so many trips, so you only have like a small community, but you know, one or two of the families aren't even showing up. Like, on one side of it, I wouldn't want to necessarily lay down the law and say these are the bylaws, you have to be there all the time and a part of every single festivity. Like, that's a little douchey. But I don't want people to just be there and then take off. Like, I would want it to feel like an actual community of people living there, and not just like a place where people could have their base, dump their stuff, and then go off and travel and not be a part of it at the same time, if that makes sense. So maybe instead of having it so regimented like a summer camp is, and having it regimented where this group of people has to fly into this location and be in this place at this certain time, I would like to see maybe just like maybe blocks of time chunked out. Maybe we could have it so like, you know, in the morning there would be optional chunks where you could do with the groups, but then you would also have chunks of time to do your own free stuff and just kind of cater to your own needs as well. So we wouldn't want to be too tyrannical, but we would want everybody in the community to be involved. That's kind of the whole point. We're trying to build a community here, because us nomads, obviously, I think we all kind of feel like a lack of that. Now, Shitelko also offered up some possible economic schemes on how this could actually work. Like, would it be a subscription model where people would have to understand that it's kind of like a timeshare, or would it be like an Airbnb model where you just kind of select your dates and things like this? Obviously, that's something that we would need to try out in the future. I think that we probably need to start with just one place, make sure it actually functions, make sure that it can actually feed and provide water for and provide energy for everybody that's there, because I do want this to be like a sustainable lifestyle. You know, that's one of the things I learned from the pandemic is, what if the supply chains break down in the middle of this nomad life? You really want to have a place that you can rely on in these situations. So obviously that means we need some kind of proof of concept, which is why I think that we really just need one place, see if it works, see if it's actually functioning, and we might also have to, unfortunately, limit the size of the program, because you can see this channel already has, you know, over 7,000 subscribers. What if all 7,000 people wanted to get involved with that? Like, that would be a small town. Like, I'm not trying to be the mayor of a town. Like, I just want to have a small community here, you know, of people that are actually committed to this. So while I would love to have all of you, obviously it would be very difficult to start with everybody at once. So, I mean, how would we vet that kind of thing? How would we decide who gets to come in and who's not part of the group? You know, that's it. That causes a whole nother layer of complications that I'm not even sure I'm prepared for, because I wouldn't want to turn anybody away necessarily, you know? And so let me know down in the comments, what do you guys think? How regimented does this need to be? I mean, I kind of would like to see where you have like an itinerary of things that you can choose from, but also enough time for your free time to just focus on your own blocks of stuff. You know, not gonna lie, I would just love to just let my daughter out into the community and go play around, you know, while I sit and get my work done on my laptop, or just chill and smoke a bowl. So let me know your thoughts down below and how you think we can handle this.